Managed to book a great guest right now. Anthony Cumia joins us. He is the host of the Artie and Anthony Show with Artie Lang and Anthony Cumia, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on compoundmedia.com. Compoundmedia.com. Compound refers to his compound, Anthony Cumia's compound. Of course, former co-host of the iconic Opie and Anthony Show, founder of compoundmedia.com, which includes his show and others like Morning with Bill Schultz, one of my sidekicks from Fox all that time ago. So, Anthony, welcome to the program. It's great to have you on.
Thank you, John. Having a good time over here at my compound, as you say.
Yes.
And good to talk to you, man.
So, what do you make of this anti-gun orgy we're in right now? Particularly this argument about who should be in the schools with a gun. Is just a sworn officer, or should the teachers be armed?
Oh my God! Every time these tragedies happen, which unfortunately they do, the focus is put on new laws and restrictions to legal, law-abiding gun owners trying to exercise their Second Amendment right, trying to use the best tools available to protect them and their loved ones. And for some reason, those are the people that are dragged out and told they have blood on their hands and whatnot. As far as school security goes, why wouldn't you want somebody that is familiar with firearms and trained to be in the place where these things happen? There's school shootings. They happen in schools. We know where they happen. So perhaps putting people that are trained in the use of firearms in the situation is one of the best things we could do. I think there's such a misconception of remember old Miss Crabtree from the old Our Gang show?
Yes.
Like she's going to be fumbling a pistol like Fredo was when his father was getting shot in The Godfather. No, there are plenty of teachers that are already legal gun owners that go to the range, that hunt, that are familiar with firearms. I can't understand how mainstream media and the left, progressives, whatever you want to call them, instantly put up this narrative that you're just throwing guns at teachers and saying, "Go ahead, just shoot at something if you see something move." No, everybody that has suggested this suggests training, having the right people that would have this immense responsibility. But, I mean, a school is harder to get in than any one of these buildings that we're doing these interviews from these days. And I don't think it should be that way.
That hardening up the school is kind of a separate topic. I think these days everybody kind of agrees if you got to go through a metal detector to get in a federal building or airport or whatever, you should as well at a school. I mean, I'm just blown away that this guy could walk into a school with AR-15 as if it was just open air out in the street. But, Rich here is, who is arguing better to put actual law enforcement people in the schools because you can do that tomorrow. You can just assign them to go in tomorrow. Whereas my idea and yours, let teachers be armed, that's going to require some more time, some more training. And the quickest and most effective thing you can do is put a guy with a badge and a gun in there.
Yeah, I think the amount of people, I don't think any one person, unless you're at the Little House on the Prairie school, I don't think any one person can defend that much real estate. I think you need teachers or administrators that are trained and willing to take on this responsibility in a school. And depending on the size of the school and the amount of students, that should dictate how many people are needed. I don't know if you can just throw cops in a school. Maybe it's a short-term solution, but after a while, I mean, these schools are really going to have to take care of themselves. We saw, unfortunately, also in Florida, how ineffective police were when they were there. And, you know, perhaps somebody being in the school, knowing the school grounds, there every day would be a much better person to have there to confront somebody that's doing harm inside that very school.
Well, now, you're a 2A guy. I know you've got guns. You handle guns.
Yeah.
And considering what you have to know to handle the gun safely, as you do, so what do you think about, you know, other people? I mean, do you think that, you know, teachers in the school might be, I don't know, more careless than somebody like you who's got a lot of experience with them?
You know, I think another misconception, there are people that are just unbelievably irresponsible with firearms, with their automobiles, with a hammer. I mean, there are people that just are not the safest people. These you don't want on the front lines in our schools protecting our students. There needs to be some type of criteria that these teachers would have to go through and pass in order to protect these kids with their own firearm. Again, not just throwing guns out to random teachers, which seems to be the talking point of the liberals I see on the news. They want to make it seem like that's what we would get, and it would only be worse, and there would be accidental shootings, and we don't need guns on campuses. You know, years ago, I recall my dear old dad actually seatbelting me into an airplane, walking off the plane, and going home while I flew somewhere else. It was an amazing, nostalgic time when you could walk right up to the gate with your loved one. These days are gone. For some reason, it could be debated why we have to have such unbelievable security in a lot of these places these days, but it is the fact, and that's what has to be dealt with. So as far as airports go, we know what happened, and as far as schools go, we know what needs to happen. We need security in there. There are people, for whatever reason it may be, that wish some of these kids harm in these schools, and that needs to be defended against.
You know, I got to ask you, because you are familiar with guns and you have guns and you use guns. Do you think there's some kind of like psychological thing involved with this particular gun, the AR-15, that's sort of different from any other semi-automatic weapon that makes a kid like Nick Cruz thinks, you know, now I'm God, I've got this gun?
It has been demonized in the news, and you know, perhaps rightly so. It is the preferred weapon of maniacs who want to harm a lot of people very quickly. But all in all, it is a semi-automatic rifle. It will only fire a bullet as fast as you can pull the trigger, which is fast enough. Believe me, I'm not making any excuses for the weapon. But these weapons have been available to the general public in the United States for well over a century, a semi-automatic rifle. Most of the guns, long guns people own are semi-automatic rifles. If you take one away, it's like a Xerox. The name Xerox became synonymous with a copy machine. If there were no Xerox machines, you'd go to an Epson machine, perhaps, or something. It's just the fact that that's the gun that has the name. It, unfortunately, I guess, for its own downfall in these cases, is it looks cool, I guess you would say. It has a military look to it. It doesn't function any differently than any other semi-automatic rifle.
Right.
So it's pretty much the one everyone looks at, and it is used mostly in these cases of mass shootings. But I believe if you did ban it, that you could step up to a Mini 14 or a M1 carbine or any other semi-automatic rifle that would do absolutely just as much damage.
No, it's absolutely true. And it's what's amazing to me is these media types don't understand it. Anthony, we're coming up on a break. So I want to thank you again. Anthony Cumia is the host of the Artie and Anthony Show, which is on 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern on compoundmedia.com. That's COMPOUND media, MEDIA.com. Formerly, of course, the Opie and Anthony Show. and founder of CompoundMedia.com. Anthony, it's great to talk to you. I hope we can do this again.
Thanks so much, John.
All right. Well, come on. He's a very funny guy. Next time we have him on, we'll do the funny stuff. We were talking about Patrice O'Neill. We could go over that again another day. Anthony, thanks a lot. It's Gibson on your radio. JohnGibson.com on your internet. We'll be right back after this brief intermission.